Well, hello and welcome. You've tuned into a conversation among artists. For the next hour, we'll be exploring the mind and the creativity of our guests. This is ArtTalks, and I'm your host, Bruce Carter. Well, hello once again and welcome. A singer-songwriter is with us today, and her assistant, who's a videographer, photographer, and also a drummer, Cynthia Haring. You might have remembered her name from 30 years ago in the Quad Cities. She's down in Florida now, and she has something called World Nation, Music to the Children. Katia Valdeos is also with us. Very interesting life. The two of them are here in the Quad Cities for a short time. We're lucky to have gotten them here at the station. And Katia Valdeos and Cynthia Haring, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Very interesting what you're doing. There is an experience that artists have, and a lot of people who are in fundraising or nonprofits have it. It's called the art experience. It could be music or theater. And you have it, and you're completely transformed by it. So you wish to pass it on to others, children or adults. And it seems that you've got this virus in you that you want to inspire, you want to uplift others through the medium of music. I think that's a very noble, wonderful occupation. But Cynthia, bring us up to speed with yourself and your life and how you've come to do this.
Yes, I was born in Davenport, actually. This is my hometown. I was born here, and I was here till I was about 5 years old, and then went to Burlington. My dad was transferred, and then came back here. So I went to high school here and went to college at University of Northern Iowa. And all that time, my mother was real supportive. She gave me a guitar. Actually, I started with the little ukulele, and then I went to the baritone uke, and then guitar. So music was always a part of my world. My father was a very gifted musician as a child. He was playing trumpet starting at age 5, and we always used to listen to music. My mother would sing, even though in the early days she didn't sing on key. Later she got pretty good. So, we grew up here. We loved music. I went to school here. And then at one point I was out in Vermont, out east, and then came back to this area and ended up teaching in Muscatine. And that's where I started working with children in a music group called World Nation. Before that, I was actually known as Destiny Quibble. I don't know if you knew about that, but I was very active in legalizing street performance in Chicago under that name. So.
There's a familiar ring to that name, Destiny. And how did you get that name? Well,
a friend gave it to me kind of as a joke, and it was originally going to be a band name. But when I left Chicago in 81, 82, I had an all-female band at that time called She, and we were based out of Cedar Rapids. But when I went to Chicago and needed a band name, I just thought, well, I'll use Destiny Quibble. But the band really just started with me alone, so I became Destiny Quibble. And then people would really like the name, and they would be calling me Destiny all the time. So in fact, many people still do call me Destiny.
It's a great name.
And there was a newspaper reporter, Zay Smith, from the Sun-Times, and he always joked that he got a message, Destiny's calling. She's trying to reach you.
Oh, that's good.
So that I did a lot of good things under that name with legalizing street performance, because you can imagine it was pretty awful for people to be arrested.
Gosh, no busking at all?
No, and it was pretty strict, and it just didn't seem fair. But actually that was after the work that I did with kids in elementary school. The first album, or CD album I had out in 2011 is called The Life and Times of Destiny Quibble. And it's
I remember that.
Yeah, a 29-year music retrospective. All originals, except for 2 songs.
Interesting. What were you doing in Chicago?
Well, I actually went there with the group, She, with these other 3 female musicians. We were way ahead of our time. There weren't very many female bands at the time. Now it's common. And we were going to do some things there. It didn't end up working out. And when it didn't work out, there's always something that better that's better meant to work out. And so that's when I started doing Destiny Quibble, and I was always teaching. I sort of had, a dual career as an ESOL teacher, teaching English to speakers of other languages. That was my degree at UNI, and doing my music. So it's like two worlds, 2 careers, 2 lives. And I was doing teaching. I loved it. I worked with a lot of refugees. In fact, that's how Katia and I met through ESOL, really.
Interesting. You were taking a class?
Well, I met Cynthia back in 2000 in Hernando County, Florida, where we both work as ESL teachers, English as a second language. So we work with the students who are learning English, and they come from different parts of the world. Eventually, little by little, I got to know Cynthia more, got to know about her World Nation group. And from then on, I started a closer collaboration. I would say I started as the photographer, then became the videographer, then it's like the secretary, and in the last couple of years, I've been promoted to assistant director of World Nation.
Very nice, very nice. So where does World Nation come in? What's the story with that?
Well, a World Nation was actually born in Muscatine, Iowa. I was teaching ESL, English to speakers of other languages there. I had mostly taught at colleges, community colleges. It was the first time I was actually working with children. I started it as a group to help be a diversion or prevent kids from going into gangs and really negative things, because I saw adults manipulating kids, the wrong kinds of adults. So I said to a teacher, let's start a culture club, let's do this group. And then I got an idea to call it World Nation, and we were known for doing songs in different languages. I sing in about 14 languages. So we started, and we collaborated with the community, with artists, with musicians, with people in the community that wanted to help overcome prejudice among different groups. And we ended up going to Chicago in 1992. That's the very beginning of World Nation, 1991, 92. And we released a recording called Welcome to Our World. Songs in 9 languages, and then 3 that I wrote. And the kids, we had a charter bus, they went, and that was documented in a video for for TV in the community. So that's how it started. And then shortly after that, I ended up out in Arizona, Parker, Arizona. I was teaching within a reservation, Native American reservation. It was kind of a unique reservation because there were 4 tribes: Hopi, Mojave, Chemehuevi, and Navajo. Usually it's 1 tribe. But I was teaching ESL to mostly Mexican students within an Indian reservation. And the director of the Colorado River Indian Tribes Museum, a wonderful woman named Betty Cornelius, said, hey, do you think you could do a recording for us like you did for those kids back in the Quad Cities? So then we did our second World Nation recording, and it was called Songs of the Colorado River.
Excellent, excellent, because you're just kind of step by step how your life is going. You have a record out, well, not a record, you have a disc out now. Should we, let's listen to one of your pieces. This is, you want to start
Is this the theme song?
This is the Cruisin.
Okay, the name of the album is Cruisin' in My Wagon, A Journey Through Doo Wop, Pop, and Swing. This is an original song, and it was actually inspired by my nephew. It was dedicated to Pierce, who was born. He was only 2 pounds when he was born. And I got a picture of him cruising in his little green wagon, and then I sort of elevated it to the car, and you'll hear the hot car at the beginning.
Nice.
As we go cruising in a wagon.
Cynthia Haring.
I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? On this sunny day, I'm feeling A-OK, 'cause I got my donkey drivers leading the way. Got my superhuman master pulling my wheels, sailing to my destination. imagination, easy as you please. I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? I'm such a lucky baby to be living my dream. Got my angels in heaven watching over me. The magic of my miracle has only begun. From my hand to your hand, two hearts become one. I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? The wind is blowing my way every day. My life's on cruise control. See how easy it goes. My wheels are rolling so fast. Such a smooth ride. The people in my life always on my side. I'm such a lucky baby to be living my dream. Got my angels in heaven watching over me. The magic of my miracle has only begun. From my hand to your hand, two hearts become one. I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? The wind is blowing my way every day. My life's on cruise control. See how easy it goes. My wheels are rolling so fast. Such a smooth ride. The people in my life always on my side. Cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? I'm cruising in my wagon, I got places to go. I'm cruising in my wagon, baby, don't you know? I'm cruising in my wagon, cruising in my wagon. I'm such a lucky baby to cruise in my wagon. Got my angels in heaven cruising in my wagon. I'm such a lucky baby to cruise in my wagon. Got my angels in heaven cruising in my wagon. I'm such a lucky baby to cruise in my wagon. Got my angels in heaven.
And we're back, Cruisin' in My Wagon, written for little Pierce, who was 2 pounds when he was born. Cynthia Haring. Gosh, that's such a poppy, happy, kind of rollicking, youthful, exuberant, playful song. It's just, you just want to dance. You just want to be happy when you're hearing it. That's terrific. How do you write songs? How does a song like that come out? You have a definite starting point of the little guy who's surviving.
This song was born when my sister Michelle sent me a picture of Pierce in his green wagon. Had the 2 dogs in front, looks sort of like they're windblown. Their fur is blowing in the wind. And I thought, this is hilarious. And I also knew Pierce struggled because he was only 2 pounds and we weren't sure he was going to make it. It was a lot of prayer, a lot of caring, a lot of just, wishing that he could pull through, and he did. And so I really wrote the song for him, inspired by his picture. I wanted him to hear it, and as he gets older, he'll understand the words more and more, but it has like, I'm such a lucky baby to be living my dreams. I got my angels in heaven watching over me. The magic of my miracle has only begun. From my hand to your hand, 2 hearts become one. So it really was a song that he could celebrate his life. And I have to tell you, he loves the hot car, the cool car. Mm-hmm. He just loved that hot car.
Yeah, good. Do you have children?
I don't have children of my own. I had a foster son, but I consider all my children the kids in my music group. World Nation, 23 years I've had World Nation, working with kids from all over the country now. And I also have my students, ESOL students for many, many years. And right now I have elementary school students. And believe me, I play this song for them. It's a good way for them to learn verse, chorus, bridge, solo, basics of music. And they're pretending that they're cruising in their wagon. And it's a way you can just pass on the inspiration in the front of the song.
How many children have passed through your eyes?
I haven't, I don't know, thousands. I mean, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000. It's somewhere between there because I've been living quite a long time now. I've been around a while. So, and I've been teaching for almost 40 years.
Why do you do this?
Oh, I love it. I have a passion for it. It's like the virus you were talking about, the bug, the hunger. I just was born loving to do songs and write and sing. I just couldn't take my hands off the ukulele, and when I got a guitar, the Sears Silvertone guitar, like a lot of people get, couldn't take my hands off it. Was always playing it. Didn't have lessons on it. I had lessons on piano. But I just was always playing and writing. I wrote my first song when I was 8, and that's why I say, singer-songwriter, but, it's evolved to be a producer and director of this group and bring kids into it. I had bands of my own for years, and I think that gave me the foundation of working in a studio, of doing live shows, so that when I got involved with kids, it was like there was nothing to learn about the technical side or the production side. It was just a matter of bringing them in and giving them the experience. So it's really a passion now for helping kids to connect to who they are and what they are.
Did somebody connect with you? Did somebody help you when you were a kid?
That's a good question. I'd say I started as a poet, and my biggest connections were, for example, a poet named James Hurst at the University of Northern Iowa. He's a farm poet. He recognized something in me and mentored me in poetry. I was then recommended for the Bread Loaf Writers Conference. I was accepted as a poet there. I also had a wonderful professor, Lori Rackstraw, and she and others gave me a creative writing award. And that's why I think I'm so interested in supporting scholarships now. That made a huge difference. When people encourage you and support you along the way. And my mother, I would say, was the biggest supporter, mentor, always.
Excellent. Well, Cynthia Haring, I think you're doing well. Keep going. Let's go to break right now. Cynthia Haring is with us, a singer-songwriter. Katia Valdeos is also with us. Her assistant, I think, her trustee assistant.
Director.
Good. Very good. And we'll be right back after this gallery guide. And we're back with Katia Valdeos and Cynthia Haring, singer-songwriters. Katia is, you're kind of the master in charge of everything, making sure everything flows.
I assist Cynthia in any way I can. I want to make things easier for her because, as you said before, as it was mentioned, the passion and the strength, all the enthusiasm that she puts into work, it's amazing to see, and I just want to be part of it, to be of help.
Very good, very good. So, Cynthia, what are you doing here? What brings you to the Quad Cities? I mean, how come we have this little window of time to get you on the air?
Well, we came specifically because of the awards tonight, the awards we're going to be making for the Caryl Haring Memorial Scholarship Fund.
And that's your mother?
Yeah, my mother, people know my mother well in this area. She was a much-loved teacher, extremely dedicated, and she was happy, funny, always encouraging children. One of the things that I remember people telling me, and my mother's telling me, she would often, she taught kindergarten, but she would often bring guest speakers who could be surgeons, dentists, doctors, a professional football player, I think, came. And she would bring lawyers, these professionals would come and they would be guest speakers in her classroom.
Nice.
And someone said, but Carol, they're kindergartners. Why are you bringing all these people? And she said, they need to learn. I want the best for them. And she always valued children, respected them in a way that you don't see often.
And you picked that up?
Well, I love kids, and I get excited to see them go in the studio and learn and sing and improve and grow. I mean, one of the girls in my group, I met her when she was 2. She's been actually singing with me for 8-9 years, and she's now 16. Her name is Caitlin Matthews. She'll be going in the studio when I get back to sing Sukiyaki, which she's performed with me for many years. It's like long overdue, actually, Bruce. I should have taken her in before, but we're going to have it on an upcoming album. So why am I here? To really honor my mother's memory. She passed away 2 years ago. Or just before she passed away, I talked to her about a scholarship fund. That fund has received to date 53 donations, ranging from $20 to $3,000. And I started it shortly after my mother passed away, May 11, 2012. Norm Bauer, who's the director of the foundation, Davenport Schools Foundation, said that we have received donations from 7 different states, mostly Florida, Iowa, and Illinois, and those that do make a donation receive a real special bookmark. It has a nice a Bible verse that says, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, nothing will be impossible for you, which is really what the arts are about, what life is about. So if anybody is interested in knowing more about it, Norm Bauer over at the Davenport Schools Foundation is the contact. I'll be meeting this year's recipients. There's 2 young ladies who we chose to get the scholarships this year. One is Hannah Harrington from North High. The other is Olivia Torones from West High. And they were selected because they have an extremely strong dedication to children and a motivation to be educators, particularly elementary school, to sort of pass the torch the way my mother loved kids. They seem very much attuned to that.
Your mother was a teacher at Eisenhower School.
That's right.
How long was she there?
Oh, I don't know, 30 years there, but she taught 40 altogether.
Golly.
And she just loved kids. She quoted Dr. Seuss when she said this, "A person is a person, no matter how small."
We're all little people. Very good. So you, without children, have 10,000 children as your own children. And
yes.
You, because of your mother's talent for connecting and raising and talking to kids, and that environment that she provided, and for you too, you have passed that on now, and you're providing it in a different way for other children.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Through World Nation, and when we have the group in different parts of the country, like in Arizona, we're called Parker World Nation, and in Florida, we're Tampa Bay World Nation.
Well, should we listen to Mr. Sandman? Let's do.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him 2 lips like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him the word that I'm not a rover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Mr. Sandman, bring us a dream. Give him a pair of eyes with a come hither gleam. Give him a lonely heart like Pagliacci, and lots of wavy hair like Liberace. Mr. Sandman, someone to hold would be so peachy before we're too old. So please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring us, please, please, please. Mr. Sandman, bring us a dream.
I remember that song, Mr. Sandman. What a great, great song. And you were just gliding in and out of that melody. Who are those people that were behind you? Who were they?
Well, there are 4 of us. That Mr. Sandman, in fact, we recorded it because it's my mother's favorite song. And she always loved that song. And we grew up hearing it but with the Chordettes. It's 4-part harmony. So I got 3 studio musicians to join me on that song. And I got Bill Norman from, he's the music director down at Busch Gardens in Tampa, and he helped me with the vocal arrangements. They're very tight. They're very tightly woven vocal arrangements.
And it was like a
we
a
loved doing
V8. You were going cruising down the
We're
street.
Cruising, and we're smooth with our Mr. Sandman.
Yeah. But that was one of the greatest hits of the greatest generation, the generation that fought in World War II. What is your connection with them? Why are you so tight?
Well, the album that we're talking about that came out last year and that we're celebrating still in the Quad Cities and in Florida is the Cruisin' in My Wagon, a journey through doo-wop, pop, and swing. And it's basically a tribute to the greatest generation. It's dedicated to my mother and father, but in the album I talk about it being a tribute to the greatest generation for all that they did and gave in the wars and in music and in the arts. I mean, these people were happy. They were dancing when they were dealing with horrific situations. So about 2 months ago we started, right, Katia? Our tour. It was a tribute to the greatest generation. And it was songs that we wanted to bring it to seniors. So we perform it at a lot of different places that are senior communities, senior centers, residences, independent living places where we can bring it to the greatest generation and some people slightly younger. And we do, the whole show is from this album. And one of the special guests that we bring is my father, Earl Haring. And we sort of explain the love story between my mom and dad, because my mom was from Preston, Iowa, and my dad was from California. And that right there can tell you something. But my dad was kind of an opposite of my mother, but he was cool. Kind of, when my mother met him, she said he kept wanting to take out that little Iowa school teacher. And she thought, oh, he's a little bit too wolfy for me, too wild for me. But he kept at it, and finally she went out with my dad. And long story short, he invited her to one of his shows because he was a singer, but he was really a great trumpet player. And he sang to her from the stage a song, I Don't Know Why I Love You Like I Do, which we have on the album, and he's singing on the album, that song. And she said that she just melted. That was the end for her. So, you know, it was powerful. So we bring my dad to the shows, and I'm telling you, we have 80 and 90-year-old ladies who go up to him and kiss him on the cheek. One of them said he winked at me. So he's like the star of the show.
He's like Cab Calloway.
Yeah. And we have the children with us, too, you know, different members of my group. We have about 12 to 15 singers, and different ones come to different shows. And they're amazing. We have some young talent who, they're already phenomenal. They're doing musical theater, they do dance, they do singing, and they can handle the harmonies and the parts that we have.
Which is rare. That's great that you can do that. That's good. So how is the younger generation doing? How are these people that you're raising up? How do you find them?
I'm excited. I think they're inspiring for me. I mean, the kids that we bring into the group are usually referred by music teachers. One of our really talented singers, Tad Andris, came. We saw him in Sound of Music at the Show Palace, which is a dinner theater in Hudson, Florida. Afterwards, I talked to him and I said, do you think you'd be interested in this music that we do? And could I talk with your mom? So I always check with the parents, and sometimes they're extremely excited about it. And he went in studio. He actually ended up singing with me the song Papa Oom Mau Mau. You know, the Papa Oom Mau Mau, Papa Oom Mau Mau.
I remember that song.
And so live, we wear sunglasses, and we do our little act, you know. We always have to fine-tune it. We have more and more to learn and do all the time, right, Katia? Katia's great on that because she really rehearses them. She calls them. She arranges. Can everybody be here? I mean, there's a lot of logistical support behind making things happen like this. It looks like it's so easy, but it's because Katia and I are working on it. But she does a lot of the behind the scenes.
Very good, very good. What an interesting life you're living here. Did you ever plan to be this way, or did it just kind of fall into place?
Well, you know, there's that great saying, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
John Lennon said that.
Oh, yeah, and I love John Lennon, actually. I had a performance called Planned Accidents, and that also explains the idea of you have a plan, you have your vision, you have your dream, And then you're following it, and then life is occurring, and you're using that to create your music, shape your music, following that to wherever it leads. And then a key for me, it seems strange, but my friend Katia had cancer, and when she was fighting cancer, it was very rough. It was very tough for her. And then shortly after, I decided, well, I better have cancer insurance, which I would never have, right? If Bruce, when you think about you're going to have cancer insurance, somebody will say, are you planning to have cancer or what? So, but for some reason I got it, and it ended up, I didn't get the most expensive, I didn't get the cheapest, but I got an amazing cancer insurance policy that myself, who would know, but a year later I had cancer. And it ended up paying a lot of money, more than I could even imagine. I didn't even know what I was buying, quite frankly. And I was able to finance my dreams because I always wanted to do recordings the way I'm doing them now. They're not cheap. It's over $100 an hour. I work with the top musicians, the top engineers, the best mastering, mixing. Everything's first class. Nothing's substandard. And, I have 2 albums now that I'm hoping to get out in the next year or 2. So, it takes a little bit of luck. My mother always taught when you have, experiences, even really bad experiences. I mean, nobody wants cancer, but I was able to change it and make it a launching pad for my work.
How interesting. How did that name that thing? Did you write songs from cancer? Did it change your life?
I wrote a lot of different songs, not specifically cancer. I mean, it changed. It was the big impact from having cancer was when I got cancer and I was trying to make decisions about treatment and what I was going to do. As soon as I started getting my strength back, I thought the reality of I don't know how much time I have here on this world. I always thought I was going to live to be 99 or 100 like my grandmother and the people on that side of the family. I just never thought about leaving this world. And all of a sudden there was this real force, it was talk about an artistic push. Work as fast as you can because you don't know how much time you have. So that's when I released The Life and Times of Destiny Quibble, a 29-year music retrospective from songs that I had recorded as Destiny Quibble, as Cynthia Haring, as the Iowa, Illinois World Nation, as Parker World Nation, as Tampa Bay World Nation. And I made a collection of all those songs, or many of them, and it's been 1982 to 2011, so I got that out. And my first goal was to say thank you to all of these musicians who worked with me through those years, to thank them. Now, 3 had passed away. 1 had passed away of cancer. I was very sorry about that. But I was able to thank everybody else, send them a CD, and just say, I want you to know how much I appreciate what you did with me as a collaborator. Because we don't live in isolation. Artists have an audience. We have collaborators. We have people who work with us, who support us. And I don't want to take lightly all of those great, great people.
Fabulous. Cynthia Haring and Katia Valdeos. Time for a short break. Let's take one now and we'll be right back after this gallery guide. And we're back on Art Talks. Katia Valdeos and Cynthia Haring are with us, singer-songwriter, World Nation, this wonderful organization that has scholarships for kids, that affects kids in a musical, marvelous way. You might remember Cynthia as the surname Destiny Quibble. Her CD is here. She has a new CD. It's called World Nation. Where is it? Where can you pick this up?
That album, and it's called Cruisin' My Wagon, A Journey Through Doo Wop, Pop, and Swing. That album and the Destiny Quibble, The Life and Times of Destiny Quibble, a 29-year music retrospective, they're available through our World Nation website, and that's worldnationgroup.com.
Easy enough.
Worldnationgroup.com.
And if somebody wanted to contribute to your mother's scholarship fund for children, where can they go?
Well, Norm Bauer at the Davenport Schools Foundation, his number locally here is 563-336-4644. 5004. And if they could go on the Davenport School's website and put in foundation and
go directly to him.
Right.
Good. More to see what you're doing. Cynthia, let's talk about process. How every artist has one. You're a singer-songwriter. Does the song come first? Does the music come first? What is the impetus? What is the starting point for your work? How does it work for you?
Well, as songwriting, I've written several hundred songs, and I started writing songs, 30 years ago, 40 years ago probably. So I've been writing songs since I was 8, and I really got involved in songwriting around the time I was doing poetry. And the early ones were kind of stories or ballads, talked about people's lives or people I met, people I knew. Sometimes they would be blues. Early music for me was blues, folk, because I played guitar and sing. And then later the songs evolved, some of more rock style. But now I mentioned about Cruisin' in My Wagon, how that picture I got inspired to write. The last song on the Life and Times of Destiny Quibble is called Don't You Let Your Baby Down. And that song was born when I went to see a little boy at one of my schools to find out how much Spanish he spoke to see if he qualified for ESOL. And he was talking about his father, my father this, my dad, and when he was going to come home. And it's like his dad was going to fix everything. They were going to have a house. They're going to have a car. And I said to the teacher, wow, he just is crazy about his dad. He loves his dad. He doesn't stop talking about his dad. And she said, yeah, but the problem is he's in prison. It's going to be a while before he's out. So like a lot of artists, how do we deal with something like that? How can you process and walk? You can't just walk past it. So I went home feeling a sadness, kind of a frustration, and I started writing a song. Like I'm talking to the father saying, what are you doing? Think about this. And so the words of that song really reflect that dialogue with the father. It's called Don't You Let Your Baby Down. It's dedicated to all children who have a mother, father in prison. So on our website, for example, you could hear that song now. That's up. And it's actually live from our 2011 CD release party for that album. Now this album, Cruisin' in My Wagon, has 3 original songs, 2 that I wrote with Katia, In Your Arms and Sweetie Pie, where we're trying to come up with a nice melody or words, and then Cruisin' in My Wagon. But there's a song right now I'm working on that has it's so funny how it started. There's a guy at one of my schools, and he saw my CD. He's only 5, and he couldn't take his hands off the CD, and he kept saying, this CD, he said, this is about your life, isn't it? I said, yes, it is. He said, you're famous, aren't you? And I said, well, not really. With you, but I'm not really famous. And then he said, you need to get this show on the road. And I said, you're right, but I don't really have an agent, or a manager to propel it along. And he looked at me and he kind of, I'll be your manager. And I said, okay, you'll be my manager. So I call him my manager, and he talks about, last time when I talked to him, I said, okay, I'm writing a song about this. And I haven't written the song yet. This song was born in a completely different way. It was born from an idea or a title. And it started when I said to him, should I call it Ask My Manager or Call My Manager? And he said, Call My Manager, with a punch in the finger. Oh. So that song is being written now from
Keep
that
your eye on that guy.
I know. He's my manager. I better. I got to do what he said.
Listen, let's hear a tune, Mountain of Love. Would you want to set it up for us?
Sure. Mountain of Love is a great song. We have a lot of multi-harmonies coming up in this song, and you'll hear Howard Helm doing an awesome keyboard solo in here, too.
Standing on a mountain looking down on a city, the way I feel is a doggone pity. Teardrops falling down the mountainside. Many times I've been here, many times I've cried. We used to be so happy when we were in love, high on a mountain of love. Night after night I'm standing here alone, weeping out my heart till the cold gray dawn, praying that you're lonely and by chance that I'll get a glimpse of you. Trying hard to find you somewhere up above, high on a mountain of love. A mountain of love, a mountain of love. You should be ashamed. You used to be a mountain of love, but you just changed your name. Way down below there's a 500,000 people. Somewhere there's a church with a big tall steeple. Inside the church there's an altar filled with flowers. Wedding bells are ringing and they should have been ours. That's why I'm so lonely, my dream is gone above, high on a mountain of love. A mountain of love, a mountain of love. You should be ashamed. You used to be a mountain of love, but you just changed your name. A mountain of love, a mountain of love. You should be ashamed. You used to be a mountain of love, but you just changed your name. A mountain of love, a mountain of love. You should be ashamed. You used to be a mountain of love, but you just changed your name. Way down below there's a 500,000 people. Somewhere there's a church with a big tall steeple. Inside the church there's an altar filled with flowers. Wedding bells are ringing and they should have been ours. That's why I'm so lonely, my dream is gone above, high on a mountain of love. High on a mountain of love. High on a mountain of love. Oh yeah. High on a mountain of love. Oh yeah. High on a mountain of love. Oh yeah. High on a mountain of love.
I remember that song too. Gosh, all these great songs. These are fabulous. This Blue Moon Up on the Roof. Oh, You Beautiful Doll. Mr. Sandman, Heart and Soul. Lollipop. I remember these guys. Pretty Little Angel. Venus in Blue Jeans. Mountain of Love. Gosh, what a great album. Your next album will be something completely different?
We've got two we're working on, and one of them's called School of Fish, a world music explorations in 14 languages.
Huh.
And what that is the work that I did in Iowa, Illinois, and in Parker, Arizona with the World Nation groups. We had songs in a lot of different languages. So I'm going to be pulling a few from the Muscatine, Quad Cities kids, a few from the Parker, Arizona kids, and then some that we've been working on. I mentioned Sukiyaki before. We have another one that's in Yoruba, an African language, that we recorded. We have a couple collaborators now through Katia in her school, introduced me to some young ladies who sing and speak Arabic. And I hadn't learned an Arabic song. In fact, I'm working on it. I'm not there yet. So that's one of the albums, School of Fish, World Music Explorations in 14 Languages. And the other one will be similar to this. We have more songs that wouldn't fit on this album, and it's a collection of nostalgia songs. It's called Walking in a Memory. Walking in a Memory is actually a song that I wrote. And so that's the other album that we're looking at.
I've asked artists and poets this question. Here you are, you're giving your life to this music and to these kids, and there are hundreds of thousands and millions of kids out there, all of whom have issues and problems and lives, and you're only reaching maybe a dozen, 10, 6 at a time, of which only a few will go off and become musicians. It's like, what's the hope in that you're doing? Why are you killing yourself doing this kind of stuff?
Well, honestly, my real dreams and visions would be to be able to have an even greater impact on children, to be able to have groups or chapters in different towns. But, that would be my real big dreams and visions, but I'm trying to stay in the real world and do what I can where I am with the kids that I know and put out these records and have kids hear kids singing. Our website, like I said, worldnationgroup.com, you can see some of the things that we're trying to do. I would love to have that huge impact because I don't think any children should be without food, clothing, shelter, and without a way to manifest their own dreams.
But you're just a musician. What can you hope to achieve by doing all of this?
I think it's important to work where you are, where you live. And then when I come here, I can share my ideas and my music. And I've had a lot of teachers who've purchased this CD and they share it with their students because it honors generations. In fact, we've done presentations, Katia and I, of teaching how to use it in teaching social studies, history, do a timeline of where these songs fit. When was a song born? When did it come out? What was happening in the world? What was happening in the U.S. at the time? And it's a great way to teach, social studies, language. We talk about language skills. We're Esau people. So we talked about some of the language. Wasn't it Jeepers Creepers? Where'd you get those peepers? I mean, peepers are eyes. For an Esau student, they're going, what do you mean peepers? I mean, these words. And then they use phrases like, gosh, I'll get out. I mean, what's that language? So when we teach our Esau kids, we use these songs, and it's a fun way to learn language. So both Katia and I have done a lot of presentations on bullying. We've done presentations on the Dream Act kids. Now they're starting to get some support, fortunately. We've done presentations with the CD on children's literature, advocacy for students. And so through those conferences, probably we reach hundreds of people there.
So it's spreading out.
We try, we do our best. And like my manager said, we need to get on Oprah. My 5-year-old manager. And then someone said, yeah, but he doesn't know Oprah's not really interviewing people now. So he's talking about Ellen DeGeneres. So we have to see who will bring us on.
Oprah was the most powerful woman in the world.
Very, and I respect her so much, so much.
Yeah. Wow. Well, gosh, Cynthia Haring, this is very interesting. Your worldnationgroup.com, marvelous stuff, and then the scholarship that you have. Let's ask the last question. And Katia Valdeos, what advice can you give to young musicians, to young artists, to kids? What can you say?
Keep dreaming and keep working at making them happen, because things don't come easily. You have to work at them. Don't give up.
Very good, very good.
I think that's a key point. I would say that it's for all artists and young artists especially, look forward to a lifetime of learning. It's a way that you early on you can work through a lot of things, express your emotions, your feelings, but be true to yourself, be true to your dreams, your own vision. Don't try to be somebody else. Take your inspiration from the people and places around you.
Well said, well said. Cynthia Haring, good luck with this. And Katia Valdeos, good luck with this too. This is just marvelous what you're doing. Hats off to you. That's worldnationgroup.com. That's it for us today on ArtTalks. Many thanks to our guests. Many thanks to our audio engineer, that maestro sound, Dave Garner. As always, I'm Bruce Carter. Until next week, have a great night and a fine tomorrow. See you soon, Laura.
On a sunny day.